Morning, everyone. In the last session, we discussed about what is biometrics. Better, what I will do is that I will share my screen, so it will be easy for everyone to understand or to recapture what I shared in the what we discussed in the last session. So these are the topics basically we discussed in the last session. In the last session, we discussed about what is biometrics, what are the biometric functionalities, and in that we discussed about verification and identification. And I just given an introduction about the design cycle of the biometric systems. So that's what. In the last session, we discussed what is a biometrics. So biometrics means it is mainly used to identify the individuals. Why we need a biometrics? So for the security and privacy purpose, we are using a biometrics. Why we are mainly what exactly what are the types of the biometrics means? It is all about the physiological as well as the behavioral traits. And in this video, which is accurate, physiological or behavioral, which is accurate, we are going to discuss about this in detail. So these are the topics that we discussed in the last session. What is physiological? What is behavioral? Physiological means face, fingerprint, hand, iris, as well as the DNA. And in behavioral, we discussed about the keystroke, signature, as well as the voice. So traditional methods means we'll be giving the passwords, and in case if it is a token based, best example for token based is that if you are going to the ATM and we have to remember the PIN. So these are the difficulties that we won't be having while we are using a biometrics, because biometrics means just initially we have to give the input. Through our input, the application that we are using for the biometric will be capturing each and every day. That's what we'll be saying that what is a biometric means it is mainly used to identify the individuals. So from this we can discuss again. So what is image acquisition? So mainly it is mainly used to collect the input from the individuals. In case whatever the input that was collected, basically in case if there is any noisy data. So for removing that noisy data, we'll be using the acquisition. That word is an acquisition. Then pre-processing. So after removing the noise, that particular noise will be considered as an input. For example, if I take an input as a fingerprint, in the fingerprint, the feature extraction will be made that will be represented as a minority. Initially, the enrollment will be done. So you can look into here the mouse button. So first, initially, the enrollment will be done and that will be loaded into the database. And in the next step, after the next day, after the enrollment, the verification and identification concept will be done. I already discussed about what is the verification. Verification means take an example as your mobile phone. It will be having 1:1 and only one person that will be enrolled into the database, and it will be checking the identity of the single person. If it is 1:n means there will be n number of the users that will be available. In that single person's entry will be it, the biometric system will identify and it will be capturing. So both will be taking only the limited amount of the seconds to identify the individuals. So until this we discussed in the last session. So in this video, we are going to discuss about the design cycle. First topic, we are going to discuss the design life cycle. First, we have to understand the nature of the application. So what application we are going to use? So depending upon the application, we have to use the tray. Before that, it's like similar to the software engineering principles. I mean, software engineering, whatever the application and whatever the projects that we are going to develop, we have to understand the requirements. So in case if you are going to use a fingerprint, the main what is the main requirement for that? So we have to use a feature extraction. In that we have to use a minority algorithm. If I'm going to use a face, I have to use the Euler Jones. If it is a Euler Jones, it will be detecting the face. So depending upon the trait I'm going to use, if I'm going to use an iris, it will be just detecting the retina. So like that, depending upon the nature of the nature of the application, I have to collect the input data. from the user, and depending upon the trait that I'm going to use, I'm going to use an algorithm. So according to that, it will be evaluating and whether the data that I collected from the individuals, whether it is matching or not. So through that, we have to come to the conclusion. So that's what I said. We have to choose a biometric trait according to the input. I mean, according to the application, which kind of the application that I'm going to use. Depending upon that, I have to come to the conclusion that what biometric trait that I'm going to use. Next, universality. I just highlighted the most important points in this. So in case if I'm failing to enroll, what will happen? Automatically, the particular biometric application cannot be identifying the individuals. First point is an enrollment. That's what I explained earlier. First, enrollment should be done. And then what is the second point? Uniqueness. What is the uniqueness? So whatever the biometrics, I mean, whatever the input that I'm giving, that should be unique. Automatically, it will be unique. If it is not unique, so there is no point in using a biometrics. Third one is a permanence. So in case if I'm using a uni model, what is uni model and what is multi model? I'll be explaining that later. So if I take a uni model, so if I'm using a fingerprint, so the age range between 20 to 50, the fingerprint will be unique. If it is less than 20 or something, or if it is more than 50, the fingerprint may vary. So in that case, that may vary over a period of the time. After 50, the footprints become dirty, or it can be damaged, or it can be like because of the age factor, the fingerprint, I mean, that ridges and valley, I mean, the input which I given may vary. And you can underline that word may vary. The thing is that the reason is that because of the age factor. And if it is less than 20 means we are growing up with age. So that may vary. So depending upon that, we have to check whether if there is any variation. If there is a variation, we have to give the input again. Fourth one is the measurability. In case if you are facing any inconvenience, we have to give the input again. So performance. So whatever the input that I am giving, that should have a higher accuracy rate. If I am taking the physiological and behavioral, which is accurate. So depending upon that, I have to prefer whether I'm going to use a physiological or behavioral for the biometric. So whatever, in not only the biometrics, whatever the concepts that I'm going to use, so it should have a proper accuracy to it. And acceptability, if I'm using a biometrics, so always the most important thing is that I have to be present in the particular person, because the biometric system needs a concerned person to be present for identifying the individuals. And second is the circumvention. So because why I'm moving from uni-model to multi-model, in case if I'm you having the fake fingers, or some persons can use our finger and they can use a gummy fingers. Through that they can make a what they can like what, like the hacker, they can collect our input and they can use a gummy finger. That's one point. Or else in case if I'm using a voice recognition, someone can talk like us. So to avoid all this, what you have to do is that instead of using a uni model, we have to always prefer a multi model. So why, what are the different types of the biometrics? What is uni-model? What is multi-model? That we can discuss in the next video. In this video, we are just going to discuss about the factors. We already discussed about the 7 factors. What are the 7 factors? First is the universality. Second one is the uniqueness. And third is the permanence. Fourth is measurability. Fifth is performance. Sixth is acceptability. Seventh is circumvention. So these are the various traits that we are using in our biometrics. So fingerprint, palm print, iris, face, hand geometry, gait, ear. This all comes under the physiological. Voice, keystroke, and signature. These things comes under the behavioral. So, why physiological is accurate, why behavioral is accurate. So, in this video, just I'll be giving the introduction like which is accurate according to me. So, not only according to me, for each and everyone, physiological is better. The reason is that in according to this iris, fingerprint, ear, DNA, vein, and face, in all the 6, iris is better because iris will be having a each one will be having the unique retina. Only point we'll be facing an issue in the iris is that for the blind people. In that case, for blind people, we'll be preferring the fingerprint. As well as behavioral won't be preferred. The reason is that someone can talk like us, someone can put the signature like us, and someone can, as well as the gate may mostly, I already in the first video itself, gate can be easily cause a dirty because uh, through our what I mean leg print only we are going to recognize a gate. So it can become easily dirty, so gate won't be preferred. So someone can talk like us, someone can put signature like us. So automatically the accuracy rate will be going down during that point of the time. So behavioral won't be preferred during that point of the time. So in that case, what we are moving into the physiological. So no one will be having the similar retina like other. I mean, this retina will be unique. In that case, iris will be the most successful one compared to the other physiological. So this is the first point. The iris won't be preferred for the blind people. So in that case, fingerprint. So as well as the fingerprint also will be accurate. And here also, depending upon the voice of the person, the ear input will be collected. But here we won't be preferring because it will be a very difficult and complex thing. So here won't be preferred. The DNA. DNA is a unique thing that we have to use for identifying the blood test or sugar or diabetics is similar to sugar. Same thing, right? As well as if you're having a viral fever or malaria or something, so we will be identifying through the DNA. Vein means this hand geometry. So this entire hand input will be collected through that the hand geometry and palm print will be carried out. Face means depending upon the Weiler Jones detector, depending upon the distance, the face detector will be predicted. So automatically through these points, we can easily understand that um, comparatively to the behavior, physiological will be a better. So, what is the main advantage? It does not take, uh, it will be taking only milliseconds to identify a person. As well as we don't want to remember any complex passwords. So, as well as it is clearly understood that it has a 99% of the accuracy. So, but if you take a behavioral, we don't want to do any specified action. But depending upon that mimicry or something, it accuracy rate will be affected. Okay, these are the some of the advantages. In the next video, I'll be discussing about what are the disadvantages are there in the physiological and behavioral. In this video, I'll be just having the a recapture of it. So we discussed about what is the design life cycle. So understanding the nature of the application, depending upon the application, we'll be choosing a trait. And depending upon that, we'll be coming to the conclusion. And then we discussed about the 7 factors. What are the 7 factors? Universalities, uniqueness, permanence, measurability, performance, acceptability, and last one is the circumvention. And then we discussed about what is physiological and what is a behavioral. And we discussed about what are the advantages and whether physiological is accurate or behavior is accurate. And I came to the conclusion like physiological is more accurate compared to the behavioral. The reason is that physiological is the more accurate than the physiological is more accurate than the behavioral. So if you are using a trait, physiological is preferred over the behavior. So in the next video, we can discuss about the disadvantages and we can discuss about the unimodal as well as the multimodal. So I'll be stop sharing it and thank you.